if you had told me 5 years ago, Tom, that coming out of my time as Surgeon General, that one of my most important lessons would be about love, I would have said, gosh, that sounds pretty unlikely. But it turns out that what I have seen in our country and also in other countries around the world is that there is this fundamental struggle that's taking place in society between two forces that ultimately, I believe, guide us in our decisions and in our lives. And those are the forces of love and fear. And if we want to understand what fear looks like, we just need to read the papers and listen to the news. Fear looks like jealousy and anger and insecurity and rage. We see it in our dinner table conversations at times, at family reunions. We see it in our communities. We see it in our national politics. And while fear can motivate people in the short term, it is very destructive in the long term because fear is corrosive. But love is the opposite of fear. We see love as generosity, as compassion, manifest as kindness. And we know that when we are operating from a place of love, that is renewing, that it feeds not only the person that we are directing our love to, but also ourselves. And at a time where this country is struggling, fundamentally, to choose between love and fear, I also once again believe that our profession can compel this nation to stand up for love once again. We can do so by leading with love in how we care for patients, in how we care for each other, and how we choose to prioritize those young people who have come to our programs with high ideals and who are depending on us to create a home that will nurture them and allow them to live out their ideals. Our ability to live with love is what is going to create a better world for my son and my daughter, and for your children as well. And this is fundamentally about a world, creating a world where people look out for each other. 3 weeks ago, my daughter was hospitalized. She's only 13 months old. But 3 weeks ago, we woke up, put her in the living room to cruise along the sofa she often does, and realized that she was not putting her right leg down. And we became really concerned. I held her in my arms and we flexed her right knee, and she cried, clearly indicating that something was going on there. I examined her knee and could clearly tell that there was some swelling in the area, and it felt warm. And so we rushed her to the emergency room. And there, a series of, and this was on a President's Day weekend, on Saturday night. And after a battery of tests, which showed that she had no effusion, no fracture, but did have an elevated CRP and an elevated white count, we were really concerned something was going on and realized she needed an MRI to rule out an abscess or some other collection. The problem was, the hospital was packed to the gills. It was hard to get an MRI. It was a long weekend. Staffing was low in the radiology suite. She also needed to have it with full sedation, and that required additional help, which was tough to get. And we were so worried. We knew that 24, 48 hours waiting on an abscess could make the difference between whether this thing spread systemically or affected her bone and caused osteomyelitis, or God forbid, impacted her growth plate at the distal end of her femur. So we were really concerned. And a physician finally came to see us who was involved in the leadership of the hospital. And he said he recognized that this was a quality gap, in a sense, and that they needed to be able to get imaging for patients who needed it emergently where it would impact management. And so he quickly arranged for the hospital to get the personnel in place to do that MRI. And so we took her down. They sedated her, which was just a profoundly disturbing experience for us to see your daughter, your child, go from suddenly being awake and looking at you to just with a snap, going limp in your arms. And they wheeled her into the radiology suite, did the MRI. She was there for over an hour, getting different views. They were talking to the radiologist while it was happening. And just as they started wheeling her out of the radiology suite, we were peeking in through the windows trying to get a sense of what was going on. A group of surgeons swooped in to see us. And they said, we've looked at her scan, she has an abscess. It's actually sitting right next to the distal end of the femur, right next to her growth plate. And it has diffuse myositis extending proximally, up her right thigh. And we had to take her emergently to the OR, drain that abscess and wash out the area. We could take her right now. And in that moment, fear just takes over. And we didn't know what was going to happen. And the surgeon actually was explaining all this to me, and I was trying to ask her some questions, but I couldn't get the words out. So I just put my hand on her shoulder and I gave it a squeeze and told her in a nonverbal way, take care of her daughter. To do what needs to be done. And at the end, the washout went well. She got on the right antibiotics. The cultures grew out group A strep, which meant that she could take amoxicillin, thankfully, and be good, hopefully with just an oral course after a few days of IV antibiotics. And when we were finally stable, the doctor who had facilitated all of this and put this in motion, he came by to see us and see how we were doing. And I was just kept thanking him. I said, because the radiologist told us, they said, if you had waited 24 or 48 hours more, it's very likely this would have spread into the bone. It's literally right there, up against the bone. And they were even wondering if there was some periosteal inflammation, or enhancement, indicating inflammation and potential spread. Like, it was that close. They said, it's so good that you got this scan when you did. And so I said to him, I said, I can't thank you enough. You may have saved our daughter's leg. Thank you. And he just stopped me finally. He said, you don't have to thank me. He said, you're one of us. He said, you're one of us. If you think about it, what if all of us treated our colleagues in that way? If we recognized we are deeply connected to each other, that we are part of the same tribe, a group informed and inspired by the same calling. How much more could we do? How much more fulfilled could we be? How much better could we take care of our patients? To me, in that moment, I saw what it means to have each other's backs, to look out for each other as a profession. And my hope is that what all of us can do together is to rebuild that culture in our profession. And if we do so, we will not only impact burnout in our profession, we will not only impact how we care for patients, but we will set an example for the country at a time where people are really wondering if it's possible to live up to those highest ideals, where people are questioning whether it's possible to live in a nation where we put people first. But that is the power of what this group can do through your example. So I thank you so much for having me here with you, for inspiring me with your questions, for giving me this opportunity to feel once again part of our community of doctors. I deeply appreciate you, and thank you so much again.
I want to convey to you what I think all of us are feeling. The first is that we're grateful to the President for having identified you as someone to lead the nation's physicians and the public health system. And perhaps more importantly, the courage and the wisdom and the persistence to stick with it, to become the Surgeon General, and now to continue to carry that message forward across the country the way you're so ably doing. And you'll know that you have 3,000 friends in this room forever.